I am. Thank you, Elaine. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And we're going to talk about the Radwin Neo and the Neo Duo. This is a product that was recently released into the marketplace, and I'm very excited about it. We're going to talk about the Radwin Portal. I know that some of you are probably already familiar with it, but we have updated our portal, so there's a new login. So if you haven't logged into the new portal, it's not the same as the old portal, and I'm going to show that to you. We're going to talk about our products, then really introduce the Neo and the Neo Duo, talk about the prime carrier feature, which is pretty special, our subscriber unit portfolio. I'll briefly comment on the OSS, and then we'll drop in and look at the system I have running at my house. So the new portal is very important. We really put a lot of time and effort into making this a self-help location for you to do a lot of things, right? Logging into the portal here, create a sign up. You can go in once you have access to this and create a case with our support team if you need to. It is also how you would manage any RMAs that should arise. Very important stuff, and highly recommend logging into that and signing up when you get a chance. All right, our product offering today, it's a unique point to multi-point architecture, mix and match your base station, and the subscriber units are all common. Why is that important? There's other manufacturers out there that are very segregated, right, between this model of base station, this model of subscriber unit, right? And never shall they overlap. We're completely different at Radwin. We'll all of our base stations support all of our multi-point subscriber units and vice versa. So if you have something that's slightly older out in the field that we don't make any longer, that doesn't mean that it's not going to connect to the new Neo Series radios, because it's the same air protocol. So the Jet Series products that everybody should be familiar with, if you haven't deployed them, then I'll just touch on. There's two units on the left-hand side. There's the smaller 13-inch laptop size single carrier Jet. That's the Air and the Pro version. And then we have the Duo that was released maybe 24 months ago. And that's two individual beamforming antenna systems in a single medium-sized pizza box. Very, very powerful. Then we're talking about the Neo, which looks like a 1-foot flat panel. Again, very, very small. The Duo, Neo Duo, looks the same exact form factor. So the Neo and the Neo Duo, same chassis. The multi-sector series of radios, we have two different form factors. The integrated 180-degree passive antenna panel. That's two 90-degree panels in a molded 180-degree, which is pretty cool. And then you've got the connectorized version. As you can see, there's 8 end connectors at the bottom. So I can connect 4 separate antennas to that unit and do some pretty remarkable things. I know some folks that are using this product with horns of different apertures and getting some tremendous results. Our subscriber units, and I'll touch on these a little bit more. Again, the common base station, and then we've got an integrated and a connectorized version of subscriber units, as you can see on the right-hand side. We also have a common operational simplicity software solution for you. Our OSS tools, planning, we have a new planning software called WinPlan that brings clutter data to the table. Very, very nice when evaluating an area to see whether or not you're going to have line of sight based on, the foliage, right? Deployment, mass deployment scenarios. If you're deploying a lot of subscriber units, and that seems to be the way of things these days, right? Hundreds of subscriber units a week in many cases. WinDeploy, which is a deployment management platform, is the way to go. It interfaces with the WinTouch phone application that your subscriber unit installation teams will have, right? So if you have your Android or your iOS phone, you're going to interface with the WinDeploy application, and they're going to send you work orders. So if you're a technician, you wake up in the morning, you might have 3 messages on your phone, and those are your 3 work orders for the day. Once you get out to your client site on work order number 1, you're going to hit that work order, and it's going to start your alignment procedure right then and there. Very, very powerful tool. And then the last thing on the page here is our Windmanage platform. That is our network management system. Very powerful. Running large networks, it's a must. It really is. It gives you huge amounts of historical data, trend analysis, monitors third-party devices. It really is a winning platform. So let's take a look at our new offering, the Neo Series and our SU Air 500. Really changing a lot of the thinking in the industry today from a quality standpoint versus price. This is high quality and lower price than we've seen in the marketplace. We have the dual carrier Neo Duo on the left-hand side, up to 1.5 gig aggregate. That's $750 per half. Single carrier up to 750 meg. Our subscriber units, and we're looking at the Air units here, they go up to 500 meg now. The integrated unit on the right-hand side, 1-foot flat panel, 22 dBi gain, very typical. IP67, and then the little connectorized unit there, that's fairly new. That is end connectors, IP67, really, really small, like the size of the palm of my hand. So let's look at the Neo and the Neo Duo base station. When you open up the box, and it's a very nice packaging, it's recycled materials, very thin, and no wasted product, right? IP67 glands, they're metal. This is the unit you can pass the RJ45 head through. The radio unit, as you can see, the Duo units have an SFP port on them, so you can bring fiber. And then the mounting kit, which should look very familiar for those of you that have deployed Radwin in the past. Supported POEs and package contents, SFPs. Again, our power is a little bit different on this product, right? It's just like the Duo, it's 4-pair PoE. We have a 2.5 gig PoE product that we are using for all of our radios today, all of our base stations, regardless of whether or not they are 4-pair or not. It is the 9921 4002. Okay, that is the go-to PoE at Radwin today. We also have our IDUS. It's a high-powered switch that can manage up to 6 PoE devices. 4 of those ports are 2.5 gig. 2 of them are 1 gig PoE ports. Okay, we also have SFP and SFP Plus interfaces on these units. It is a very capable base station location switch device to power your units and make your switching work. Also at the top there is a DC unit, DC input of 10 to 60 volts. Down at the bottom, you see that all of the compatible SFPs, these are the units that we sell from Radwin. Single mode, multi-mode, as well as a copper unit. Those are not included, nor are the PoEs when you purchase the radio, so you need to order those separately. Make sure you are ordering the correct PoEs, right? So there was a change from our legacy device PoEs to this new 2.5 gig, and make sure that you're getting that unit. Otherwise, you won't be able to power the newer radios. All right. Best in class, an absolute bargain. I'm taking a look at what we got going on here. Bidirectional beamforming, meaning I'm creating a beamform, regardless of whether I'm picking up data at the subscriber unit or dropping it off. Supports residential and non-SLA business services. This is an Air version of radio. There is not a Pro version of the Neo series. Okay, so all of this is best effort. Pro subscriber units that you already have deployed if you're replacing the base station because you need more capacity. tech refresh, what have you, those would have to be changed to best effort from Pro, committed information rate, to work with the Neo, but beyond that, that's the only difference there. It is AES 128 over the air. It does all of the dynamic channel bandwidth selection, the 20, 40, 80 that our other products do. The prime carrier I'm going to mention here in greater detail. It's about dynamically switching subscriber units, SNMP V1, V3, Windmanage, Web UI management. So this is a product that is not managed with the Radwin Manager. I know that's a lot of managed in there, but you know, our Duo, our Neo series, our subscriber units, they're all web-based today. The Radwin Manager is needed because it does include the software upgrade tool, and that's how you would upgrade these units. But when you're interfacing with the units in a daily basis, or whenever you need to, it's going to be done through a web browser. It is supported by all of the Radwin OSS tools, and again, backwards compatible with the subscriber units. So taking a look, you can only see 3 differences between the Neo and the Neo Duo. They're listed there: single versus dual carrier, the capacity 750 versus 1.5 gig, and then of course subscribers 64 and then 2x64, right? That is your max. 17 dBi gain antenna. Antenna beam width is 24 degrees. So let's be clear about that. We're covering 90 degrees of real estate, okay? And the difference between this product and the Jet product series, right? The Jet and the Jet Duo with their 8-degree horizontal beam width when they're doing their beamforming, this is 24 degrees. All right, so I've got a 24-degree beamform that's moving within my 90-degree sector. Again, 24 is less than 30, and that seems to be the 30-degree horn that we hear about so much. Interference rejection from adjacent carriers, 18 dB. Again, max EIRP per port. Again, it's 42 dBm. You know, we are EIRP limited in the United States and in Canada, the 36 in the 5.8 band, and we adhere to that strictly. WAN connections, again, SFP for fiber. On the Duo product, gigabit Ethernet for the PoE port. Best effort, I mentioned that before, modulation up to 256 QAM. The dynamic channel bandwidth selection in that 20, 40, 80, it will do the 10 meg channel size, but it's not part of the dynamic relationship. Built-in GPS, same thing with our Jet radios. Those of you that have used those in the past know how easy it is to work and set that up. IP67, and then in the FCC, we're running 5.1 through 5.8. Again, reuse of 2, right? It's what we do here. You know, talking about these numbers, right? I just threw a bunch of numbers at you. Aggregate capacities, you know, just be clear what we're talking about. That's the total capacity that radio can transport at the same time. So if I say it's 1.5 gig, that's the max that chassis can do. That's both carriers, 750 each, running at, you know, at lab speeds, right? 1.5 gig net aggregate. Symmetrical traffic, right? We're talking about uplink and downlink, 100 meg up, 100 meg down, okay? What would I see there? That would be 200 meg aggregate, right? Asymmetric, and that's what most of the traffic patterns are in our industry today. We're doing a lot of asymmetric to the home, you know, 25.3, 100 meg down, 20 meg up, okay? That is very capable by the Radwin products, right? We can do that without any problem. So again, we're covering 90 degrees, but in that 90 degrees, we have this beamforming that occurs, and we are switching based on need to subscriber units. You know, every 80 milliseconds, I can address those 64 subs, or I can address those 4 subscriber units based on who's needing data delivered and who needs to deliver data, right? So if I don't need to talk to you, I'm not going to. I'm going to use that time, you know, for your neighbor, right, who has a whole bunch to talk about. All right, bidirectional beamforming, you know, what are the benefits of this? Higher service reliability and uplink traffic capacity. You know, we're looking at, you interference there on the left-hand side hitting our null point, right? That's an unformed beam, right? It just absorbs that noise. That's that 18 dB of interference rejection that we talk about. We have typical points of multi-point. Your subscriber unit most of the time is going to be mired in the noise, right? Just poking its head up just enough to get that connection. That's tough, right? That makes your base station or your subscriber unit work very, very hard, right? To resending, packets that have failed, with the retransmissions. And it's just bad, right? You're going to have bad modulation. You're going to have a lot of fluctuations in channel sizes and things like that, right? And it's just a horrible way to run. But what we do with the beamforming product, both the Jet and the Neo, is we suppress that noise. We're not listening to all of that noise. So the signal's not going to be any hotter, right? As you can see on that middle picture, that gray node there that's popped up, it's at a minus 55. If I look at the one on the right, it's still at a minus 55. I have not changed the gain of the antenna. All I've done is I've quit listening to all the noise that's around me. Okay, I lower that noise level. That gives me a much higher clean signal that I can push clean data through, right? So that's really the key to what we do at Radwin, right? Working in a noisy spectrum of minus 60 and have it perform like a minus 80. So the other benefit, benefit number 2, is extended cell range, saving on tower space, reducing infrastructure costs. Having that beamforming coverage, bypassing all the interference. When we look at our uplink capacity versus range, again, versus a typical point-to-multipoint passive antenna platform, you can see as we're stepping our way through our modulation levels, we're getting out past that 10-kilometer range with 20 meg without any problem, right? At a minus 60 noise floor, where your typical radio is going to get out to, not even 2 kilometers before it gets crushed, okay, at minus 60. And those of you that have operated in a minus 60, you would understand that. And those of you that have used a jet radio in a minus 60, you also understand, what I'm saying is true here. It works in very noisy environments. Bidirectional beamforming, number 3 benefit is the reuse of 2, right? We've been doing this for 6 years now with the Jet platform, frequency reuse of 2, back to back, using the 5s, right? 5 feet of separation back to back, 5 feet adjacent separation, and 5 feet of vertical separation between rings of radios, right? If you follow that, you can run this reuse of 2 very efficiently. In many cases, you might only be using 2 frequencies, per subband throughout your network, or the vast majority for sure. Less required channels. It allows you to, have channel separation, right? Where you're not trying to shoehorn something in that just doesn't quite fit. Makes frequency planning so much easier, right? Of course, we know frequency planning on a desk is great until you go and turn on your first spectrum analysis, right? And then reality sets in, you take that information, you dump that back into your planning, and now you've got your ASBIL, right? But having this capability gives you so much more latitude and flexibility. So looking at the dual carrier duo from the Neo platform, it is basically the same thing. It's 2 distinct beamforming systems that share a common platform as far as the Ethernet port goes, right? So everything's coming out through the Ethernet or the fiber payload, okay? Saving on tower space, reducing your OpEx. Tower rental costs are not going down. I know that's a surprise. Unmatched service reliability, consistent downlink traffic. Talk about the prime carrier. I know it's been peppered in here a little bit, and we're going to talk about it right now. Very cool. This is a new feature from Radwin. This allows you to switch subscriber units between the 2 carriers of the Neo Duo. So again, I might have 258 carriers, right? running 40 megahertz, we don't let you overlap. The software won't let you assign overlapping channels or anything like that, right? But if I can run 258s, I can force subscriber units from one to the other today without any problem, just by shutting off one carrier, right? They're running the same sector ID, so it's just like living in a duplex, with a door between the two. Okay, you can go back and forth. This one is done dynamically, though. This prime carrier is cool because it's going to allow you to move these dynamically without having to do anything yourself, right? So, really want that to resonate. So the home carrier is the original carrier that an administrator, an installer, whatever you want to call it, registers the subscriber unit. So whatever the first carrier, it's going to be your home carrier. Your alternative carrier is going to be the backup or the fallback, okay, that the subscriber unit can switch to. So in the picture here, we have two carriers, right? We've got one in the 5.8 band. We got one in the 5.4 band. You can see the two different colors. I've got a subscriber unit synced to carrier 2. That's the F2, and I've got subscriber units synced to carrier 1. Why do they switch? Okay, what trips them? What makes them switch over? So the Duo, we're talking about the base station, right? Like all of the base stations from Radwin, they're the brains of the operation. It's continuously checking the performance of that subscriber unit link. All right, looking at the load on each of the two carriers, and then it might move subscriber units to optimize that sector, as well as optimize subscriber unit performance. Okay, and these are the conditions that would precipitate a subscriber unit from moving over. One is link quality, all right, and that is a certain level of packet error rate is detected on the home carrier. Okay, again, these are best effort only, right? So just to be clear, that it's an Air products feature. So I'm moving from one carrier to another when I have too much packet error rate. Utilization. So if carrier 1, for instance, goes above 80% of utilization, and carrier 2 is at least 20% less than that. So if I'm at 81, I need to be at 61, okay, or less, right? The example here is 80 and 20. If that is satisfied, I can move subscriber units from the 80+% carrier to the 60% or less carrier, right? And balance those out and give a better performance for that sector. The other one that's super exciting for me is radar. So we all know and love DFS in North America, and we know why it's there, right? We don't want to interfere with that. But we also pay a heck of a price when we try to use that in places that is, less than ideal. So what happens if I run in a 5.8 and a 5.4 like we saw on that other screen? And again, I am 64 subscriber units per carrier max, right? So, which is not a real big problem considering today's service levels, right? 64 subscriber units at 50 meg or more, could be a challenge. But let's say we're at 30 and 30, or 32 and 32, and that would be, what I would call the max capability. 32 on carrier 1, 32 on carrier 2. Carrier running the 5.8 band. Carrier 2 is running the 5.4 DFS, dynamic frequency selection, radar avoidance, whatever you want to call it, band. I see radar. It affects my subscriber unit or my base station, right? It sees it within its 40 megahertz channel that I'm running on that 5.4 band. And in normal days, I'm shutting down, right? I have to mute my transmitter. I got to scan and probe for a minute. I have to move away from that now dead channel, somewhere else that is clear, according to my ACS list, right? So if I didn't have any place to go on my ACS list, then I'm just down until, the universe decides I'm out of the penalty box and my radio comes back up. That's no way to run, right? What's beautiful about this is as soon as I see that radar on that second carrier, I'm going to move all those subscriber units up to that 64 number, which is why I'm at 32 and 32. I'll move all 32 off the 5.4 band, okay, onto the 5.8 band, and I'll just hang out there. As soon as the 5.4 band gets settled, okay, all 32 of those subscriber units are going to hop on back, okay? That's a great feature. You're not taking that 1 minute or longer penalty, and it's an immediate move, and you know, I think a real advantage. The other one is spectrum analysis, and what's a great feature with the Duo radios is I can run my spectrum analysis on the second carrier, and all those subscriber units would jump over to the first carrier while I'm running my spectrum analysis. Gives me a lot of capabilities. Again, degraded quality, all right, the downlink quality, packet error rate is degraded, and we're going to switch to the alternate carrier. After 8 hours on the alternate, the SU will try to go home, okay? It'll start checking for link quality, all right? So that's a long-term move on the part of this subscriber unit, right? 8 hours, it's going to stay on this alternative carrier. And the reasoning behind that, right, is very clear. We're talking about interference, right? We're talking about packet error rate, probably induced by interference. So what it's not going to do is ping pong back and forth, right? It's not going to, you know, go back to the carrier 1. Oh, that's no good. Back to carrier 2 for 10 minutes and say, I'm going to go back to carrier 1, right? None of that happens, right? That's going to be very, very detrimental to the service. So we've set that to 8 hours. Carrier utilization load balancing. This is the one I kind of described about the 80 and the 60%, right? If I'm above 80 and I'm less than 60, I can move subscriber units. Now we're looking at every 30 seconds monitoring that utilization, okay? So the base station's keeping an eye on the store every 30 seconds. And when it sees something, it's going to pick subscriber units, okay, and move them individually to balance the carrier utilization. Okay, so this is done very intelligently. That subscriber unit does not automatically return home. You would have to force him back. Again, radar detection, exactly as I explained it earlier, we're going to see the radar, we're going to switch subscriber units to an alternative carrier. If there are more than 64 total subscriber units on the 2 carriers, some of those on the DFS band aren't going to go. All right. Right now, there is no current way to prioritize those subscriber units. If that's coming in the future, where I can just say, you know what, your priority, you get a checkbox, and if something happens, you move over. You know, so and so down the road, yeah, they're not so good of a client. They're not going to get a checkbox. So if there's a DFS event, they're going to take the DFS hit and till that's restored. But again, let's think about how many subs we're really going to have on a base station, right? Today's marketplace. All right. Again, the SUs return home to their home carrier after the base station finds a clear frequency and reestablishes itself, right? Again, the spectrum analysis I mentioned, they return home after the base station has reset itself, right? So as soon as you stop a spectrum scan, the base station reapplies its operating parameters, comes back up, then the subs are going to pop back over. So there's a table here that's going to tell you what's happening, and you can look at it based on different parameters. You know, why did it happen? Was it link quality? Was it spectrum? You know, I want to see when they return home. I'm going to get all this information out there. Packet error rate percentages showing up there on the right-hand column. Go into the carrier switch, and that's up here on the top of the menu tree. It's verifying the distribution between the 2 carriers, okay? Once you enable that switching. Again, there's some things in here where you're seeing universal bands and stuff like that, that, you know, if you're in the United States or Canada, you're not going to see those, okay? And there's some information in here about making sure that the bands are matched, right? Again, we do go back, all the way back, right, on subscriber units to support all kinds of different radios. And some of those legacy radios might, support different subbands, right? So the base station's going to go out and check and make sure that all the subscriber units can do what you're asking them to do, to move over to this alternative band. It's the same as doing a band change, right? If you look at a band change on a base station, if you have a subscriber out there, for instance, that doesn't do 5.1 FCC, it's 7 years old, let's say. It's not going to show you the 5.1 band as an option to switch to. All right, so again, it's not going to let you orphan subscriber units intentionally. Speaking of subscriber units, talking about our SU Air connectorized and integrated platforms, they are very, very economical on the wallet. They are 500 meg today. They run the 4.9 to 5.9 spectrum, 80 meg channels, 256 QAM. The WinTouch app, which is the alignment tool that you utilize over a secure Wi-Fi connection to the device to align it with WinTouch, to connect to it with the web interface, right? So you open up Safari or another web browser on your phone, and you can connect to that Wi-Fi and log into the GUI. They are IP67 compliant. They are the best effort. There are layer 3 routing functionality that will be introduced at the end of 2021, and that'll be upgradable via software. I don't have all the particulars on that yet. I think we're still finalizing all the features that are going to be included, but we're very excited about offering that. Light and compact, low visual impact. I mean, they're small. They're 1 foot flat panel or smaller with the connectorized, depending on what you're attaching to that. Obviously, that's going to change that visual impact. The SU Air offered at 500 meg, best effort, integrated and connectorized. Plastic enclosure, hardened plastic. This is a pretty rugged subscriber unit housing. Point-to-point operations, no. Some of you might say, but I thought the alpha point-to-point. You are correct, but that is in the Pro version of the subscriber unit that can be converted to an alpha point-to-point and vice versa. This is the Air version of radios. FCC, IC, ETC, and Uniband are available depending on your geography. Again, in the subscriber unit package, you do get a PoE. It's the 24-volt PoE as shown there. Our subscriber units, however, are capable of using the 56-volt standard as well. So if you have a reason that you need to use 56 volts, we have our other PoEs available for that. We also have our DC PoEs as well as our switch products. Mounting kit, same hardware, right? The only real difference is that the gland for this unit, the cap is a plastic material, and again, it's passed through. All works the same, IP67. The connectorized unit looks like that. Very, very small. Like I said, the palm of my hand. Comes with the same PoE, the same cable glands, but it also comes with a couple of steel mounting bands. We talked about installation. In the middle there, we've got our base station, the Neo or the Neo Duo base station, which drops down to a lightning protection unit with Cat 5e down to another lightning protection unit, which then goes to a PoE device, right? And that PoE device, as we just mentioned, could be a brick, a switch, either one of those will do the trick. And then that's connected to, the Ethernet cloud, the internet out there. Back to the middle, we're going across the air to our subscriber unit with the same sort of installation, LPU. Didn't mention grounding, but by all means, we need to ground these base stations and towers and subscriber units, all of them, right? And do it properly, especially at the base station site. That can cause you some problems. Coming out of the lightning protection unit, in a lot of cases, people use one LPU at subscriber sites, right? The Cat 5 runs are typically very, very short. going into that PoE brick that we just saw, that 24-volt unit, typically, with the handoff to somebody's Wi-Fi appliance, and that's where they're getting their internet into the home. Our OSS tools, operational support system. There's 3 different main headings here: Wind Plan, Wind Deploy, Wind Manage, with Wind Touch as a sub there, right, to Wind Deploy. Wind Touch is an extremely accurate application, for doing installations and subscriber unit alignments. I cannot recommend it any higher than I am. It really does make your network efficient, right? You're getting the best modulations, the best received signals for your installation at every single home. The Windmanage is your NMS, right? That's going to monitor all of your network once it's deployed. Your Wind Plan, again, if you aren't familiar with Wind Plan and you're like, what is Wind Plan? I only know about our planner. Reach out to the folks at Wincom. Reach out to us at Radwin, and we'll help you with that. We have a new Radwin web services platform that'll get you access to all of this, and we want to expose you to it. So please ask. The Wind Touch Plus is new. Wind Touch itself is several years old. We have taken it to the next level. We've done a bunch of incremental updates on Wind Touch, and it was great. We got to the last one, and I thought it was fantastic, and still is. Wind Touch Plus, though, has some more refinements in it, increased accuracy and quality, more configuration capabilities, interfaces with Wind Deploy still today, the new version of Wind Deploy as well. And alignment capabilities will be put into the web manager. What that means is, for those of you that have used this product in the past, you probably also use the web GUI alignment capabilities, which is great as well, but it's not at the same level as Wind Touch, right? The accuracy is more human dependent on the GUI than it is with Wind Touch. Wind Touch is a machine, and it's going to do things dynamically without, me screwing them up. The GUI, on the other hand, is, me moving the radio and looking at RSS levels, right? I may or may not be at the right one. We aren't perfect, right? But Wind Touch tries to be. So the web version will be released at the end of this year as well. When that is released, as you can see there on that bottom, the current Wind Touch, the non-plus environment, will start the end-of-life process. All right, so I'd say thank you there, but I'm going to jump into my screen real quick. I got a few minutes left, and let's take a look at my base station. And this is at my house. I've got some subscriber units that are in various forms, and looking at those 3 there are the 3 main colors that you would ever see under status. Green is great, right? Green, active, registered. That makes a lot of sense. That means that subscriber unit is alive, and I know that for a real fact because I'm actually logged into it, and there it is. The red at the top says not synchronized. What's important about not synchronized and red, it means that it was, at least at one point, it was synchronized, right? It can never be gray, which is the bottom one, active unregistered, okay? I can't go from that to not synchronized. So if I ever see red, I know at least at one point, for even the briefest amount of time, it was registered, okay? So it's a good troubleshooting tool looking at that color code. All right, so I'm logged into my web GUI. I just put my 192.168.0.203 IP address into the browser, and it took me to my login, which was admin and wireless. Okay, I'm sorry, net wireless. Wow, there's a faux pas. Admin net wireless, one word, right? NET wireless. Okay. And I logged in, and it brought me to this main screen, and I see a bunch of information here, right? I just talked about the subscriber units. This is the list view of the subscriber units, which again, we tried to emulate what the Radwin Manager was showing us to make it familiar. okay? And I think we did a pretty good job. I can scroll here. You can see this. It's very difficult to see that when it's not hidden, but know that there is a slide bar there. So I can get that and I can slide to the right. And all my information starts showing up that I really want to see, like my modulation levels, right? Looking at my rate HBS for this middle subscriber unit. All right, my rate HBS is talking about the transmit of the base station. I am at 2 by 256 QAM, 5.6, 40 megahertz. So I'm 2 by 2 MIMO. I'm running 256 QAM, 5.6 forward error correction, and a 40 megahertz channel. That's the transmission rate of the base station to the subscriber unit. On the next tab where it says rate SU, that's the same scenario for the subscriber unit transmit back to the base station. They look the same because they're installed very nicely and about 100 feet apart. The other unit here, which is the lower she shed, as we looked at here earlier, it's active unregistered, meaning it's in alignment mode. All right, in alignment mode, the Radwin subscriber units are at a 1 by QPSK 1/2 20 megahertz. Okay, they are at the lowest modulation, they're in diversity mode, and they're running the smallest channel size in the dynamic channel group of 20, 40, and 80 megahertz. If I look over here on the right-hand side, just to deviate for a second, I'm looking at my base station information. It's going to tell me what product it is. And again, if I highlight over, it's going to show me that information. If for some reason you didn't like it displayed the other way, it's going to pop it up and show it to you in a different format, which is nice in a lot of other places, right? You're going to see a lot of information bubbles with exclamation points that you can highlight on. That's going to give you a lot of good stuff. Downlink ratio, uplink ratio, 85/15. So this is the max that we allow these radios to be skewed. I know some of you are like, well, I've got some that are 88.5, 11.5. You are correct. With the duo technology, having two carriers that close together, 85/15 is the way to go. And so we've set that to that. So if you do have devices out there and you're introducing duo radios or some of the newer base stations that do 85/15 as their max, you're going to want to go into your other radios and change them from 88.5, 11.5 to 85/15. It's not that much of a difference. As a matter of fact, you won't even notice. I've got geolocation information coming from my internal GPS receiver telling me my latitude, my longitude, and my altitude above sea level in meters, not too far above. It's also telling me how many satellites. So I'm doing GPS synchronization, triangulation. I need 5 satellites. I've got 12. So I ticked down to 11 there. That is checking, constantly, right? That is synchronized. That means that I have 12 birds out there that I can use for my triangulation. And that's enough to cause me to be synchronized. I'm going to turn on GPS sync elsewhere in the base station during my initial setup. But right now, that's what it's telling me. Tell me how much uptime I have. About an hour ago, I actually rebooted this radio, and there we went. All right. What it's telling me about these two different carriers, carrier 1 and carrier 2. I can toggle between the two by clicking on, the header there. It's going to tell me what band I'm running, what channel. That's my center frequency, channel bandwidth, right? So I'm on a 40 megahertz channel bandwidth with my center frequency of 5825. My transmit power is 13. Best effort service, okay? There's no committed information rate. And notice that I have no single subscriber unit selected. And that's because on carrier 1, I'm not connected. Notice here on my list view, I'm connected to carrier 2 and nobody on carrier 1, so nothing would be listed. If I looked at carrier 2, I have 5750 for my channel bandwidth of 40 megahertz, same transmit power, and going from there. If I come and to the top menu, I'm going to turn on my base station. I can only have one of these checked at a time, by the way. So I've selected my base station. If I deselect that, notice everything except for a couple of those icons go gray. All right, but I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to turn on my spectrum analysis. So I'm going to turn on spectrum analysis for carrier number 2. And you're like, well, that's where those subscribers are at. I'm like, I know. I have scanning duration. My drop down. By default, it's 2 minutes, okay, 120 seconds. After that default duration, it's going to stop the process, bring the base station back up properly. All the subscriber units that were connected prior to that would join back, okay, and we'd go from there. If I wanted to change my start and stop frequency ranges, I can do that. We run from 4900 to 5845. I can pick any 500 megahertz chunk in there and use that slider to do so. So I'm going to hit start, and it's telling me that all the subscriber units will be out of sync while that analysis is going on. All right, so my spectrum analysis has started. And a couple of things that it's telling me right here, and I've got a little pop-up that I can click on my legend at the bottom, and it's telling me a lot of information just based on color. My vertical is the darker blue, the lighter blue is horizontal polarity. You can see what channel. It says selected for ACS, it's automatic channel selection, but I only have one channel selected. I'm not using the actual ACS functionality, but it's telling me basically what channel I'm running. And that's in the green, and it's showing me my vertical and my horizontal. If I was running a DFS band, so the 5.4 band, the 5.2 band, running spectrum analysis, if it saw radar, it would throw up this icon to tell me that there was radar on that vertical band. It would be a red vertical bar, all right? And I want to avoid that, right? I want to be away from that. Obviously, I'm not going to see that in the 5.7 band. But again, 5.2, 5.4, I want to deselect those bands from, you know, any possible selection in my automatic channel selection list. These units will run, and you'll see this, it says stop. Once it's done, it's going to say start again, and then it's going to bring the subscriber units, you know, everything back up on the carrier too. So if I look at some other information here, if I highlight on any of these vertical columns, they're 5 megahertz channels, okay? And they're going to give me information like my average, my maximum, you know, RSS level for my interference. So you can see him up there, that little dash, he's the -71, okay? And I can run through this entire thing. Notice I've got a beautiful, clean channel. Not exactly sure how all that worked out for me perfectly at my house, but you know, all that noise, -70 is not really all that noise, but you know, look where I'm positioned. I'm in the sweet spot for my particular radio. What else could be out there? Well, I've got the other you know, I've got the other half of my base station running in the upper band, so that would certainly account for some of that noise in the upper half. Okay, notice I went back to my start. I have a download report. I can take a snapshot and it's going to save it over here as a PDF. And now I've got this great snapshot that I can save for historical purposes, right? I know when this was taken, and you know, 6 months, a year from now, if I have any challenges on this particular sector that I think might be interference related, I have this original, right, from when I did my install that I can you know, go back and refer to at any time. So I'm going to exit there. If I go back to spectrum analysis, something that's, excuse me, let me go back here to configure. I'll show you what I was about to say. All this information came in with the wizard. If you've used the Radwin products in the past, you know what the wizard looks like. It's still going to take in all your information. You're going to have to change the name. You're going to have to change the contact. You're going to have to change the location. GPS coordinates, this is telling you, you know, how do you want it to be displayed? By default, it's in decimal. If you want degrees, minutes, seconds, just check that and hit save. My asymmetric, remember I was saying I can go to 8515, that's it. And that's all it's letting me. I can use my left and right arrow keys on my keyboard to do 0.5% increments, okay, if I want to be granular, or I can use my mouse and I can sweep that all the way. It can go the opposite direction, all the way to 1585. Why would I want to do that? If I'm streaming video surveillance full time, absolutely this is what I want to do, right? I want all of my base station resources to do nothing but be receiving data from my subscriber units with a little bit left if I need to pan, tilt, zoom, you know, maybe a software upgrade, you know, what have you, to a camera. But beyond that, by and large, most of us on this call are probably going to be wanting to be somewhere in this area. You know, if you're running 100 meg services, 20 meg up, you probably want to be in this area, like a 70-30, right? You want some more of that data to be pooled in the uplink. If you're only doing 25-3, by all means, 85-15 all day long. There's plenty of data to do 3 meg for lots and lots of people simultaneously. QoS configurations, radius authorization, quality detection. In our transmit and antenna, not a whole lot to do here, but an important thing to remember, we are an integrated only, we're beamforming, right? We've got a smart antenna, so we don't have an external version of the Neo. What's important though is setting your azimuth. In this case, I'm literally at 0 degrees on my base station. I wasn't at 180. And I want to point it there. I want to tell the base station where it's pointed. It knows where it's at on the planet, right? It just doesn't know which way it's pointed. So if I tell it that information, it's going to tell me where my subscriber units are. Why is that important? I have the ability to see in my list view, you know, what that angle is from the base station. I can use that as a troubleshooting tool. On occasion, you could install a subscriber unit if he's close enough outside of the hard sector edges of that 90 degrees, because there's just enough RF to do that, you know, but you don't want to, you know, typically you don't want to do that, right? You're going to ultimately, you know, cause that base station to spend more time servicing that subscriber unit because he's not within that 90 degree sector. But looking at, you know, those angles, you can tell, am I within that 90 degree? Am I from 315 to 45 degrees on this particular base station, right? Because I'm at 0, but 45 to the left, 45 to the right. If I'm outside of that, if I'm at 330, then I know that I'm actually, you know, should be in the adjacent sector. And that's really a great little tool. The air interface, you know, I've got all of this information for both of my carriers. Remember, I just ran a spectrum analysis on carrier 2, and that's recorded here, right? So it's stored, which is also very, very nice instead of having to try to figure out where you put that spectrum analysis SNP that we just looked at a few minutes ago. It's going to store the last result, so I can make intelligent decisions in real time, you know, based on what I see there. My ACS list, as I said before, I'm not using it. It's the 5.7 or the 5.1 band. I'm going to pick the best channel, and I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to run with it, right? You know, the ACS is mandatory in the 5.2 and 5.4 band, all right? My sector ID up here, there's one of those little informational. The first 4 characters are used for the network ID. It's a little less information than you know, we would probably like, but it's important information because that network ID is what I'm going to utilize in the alignment. So when I'm using WindTouch, if I have that 4-digit network ID and I know what subband that base station is in, I can put my subscriber unit on that base station without any problem whatsoever. Okay, so it's good information. Atpc is the automatic transmit power control, and I'm going to be finishing up here in 5 minutes, folks, so I'm going to be blitzing through this. Atpc is turned on for the subscriber unit in 2 different modes, static or dynamic. If I pick that threshold and turn that on, tell it I want it to -53, it's going to work with the subscriber unit, talking about the base station. It's going to work with that subscriber unit to try to meet that threshold, all right? Maybe it's telling it to turn down transmit power. Maybe it's telling it to turn up within the parameters of the radio capabilities, right, and the regulations to try to meet that 53. You'll see indications, and I'll show it to you here in a second, of what that looks like on your heads-up display on the GUI. CIR best effort, again, this is a BE only, best effort only platform, so that's not relevant. Changing band, this is where I would go in and make changes to my subband based on whether I want to run 5.8 all day long, which I can certainly do. But really the frequency reuse, and the Neo Duo lends itself to running, 2 different subbands. Typically, most people are going to try to run the 5.8, maybe on the top half of the radio, 5.1 on the lower half, do back-to-back frequency reuse of 2 in all 4 directions. And now you're using basically 2 channels in the 5.8, 2 channels in the 5.1, and running very, very efficiently. Under the Advanced tab, maximum throughput, optimized latency, management, IP address information here, management VLAN information, my trap destination, protocol. You noticed I talked about logging into this unit. All I did was put in 192.168.0.203, and it brought me to my web page, right? If I turn off HTTP and only leave HTTPS disabled, if I put in that IP address, it's going to redirect me to an HTTPS login, and I don't have to do anything. If I enable this as strict and hit save, if I just put that IP address in, it's going to dead link me. It's going to send me to a dead page, and unless I put HTTPS, it's never going to let me get into that location. You saw that pop up, stay or leave, so I didn't save anything. So as I was changing my tab here, it asked me, you're basically leaving, unsaved changes, right? So that's kind of nice that it gives you a heads up. Syslog server, new user capabilities, right? You can go in and make changes, create new users. Users authenticated via Radius, also a feature from the last 12 months that's very powerful. Upsite sync. This is where we're turning our GPS on. As I mentioned earlier, down here in the right-hand corner, where it says, down in the middle, where it says GPS sync status, synchronized, number of satellites 12. I still have to go in and turn this on. By default, it looks like that. Okay, I don't have any synchronization. I'm doing internal timing off the radio. If I put 4 base stations up, they're going to interfere with each other. When I turn this synchronization on, I've got a couple of things I want to do. I got to pick one or the other. Do I want to continue to transmit or disable transmit? Always continue transmit. Protocol GPS, save. Nothing was changed, so it's not going to do anything, but leave it as is. Inventory page, telling you what the product is. Very important, what software revision you're running. It's always important. These radios have been on a boat, they've been in a plane, they've been on in a warehouse someplace, right? They might not be running the latest and greatest software. So always good to check the Radwin portal, log in, take a look. What's the latest software revision? Look at the release notes that are always available and make a decision. Should I upgrade? If you don't know and you want some advice, reach out to your folks at WinCom. Reach out to your Radwin professional services team. Reach out to Radwin support and ask the question, right? What should I upgrade? And sometimes the answer is no, or it's not necessary, or yes, there's a key feature added, or there's a bug fix or something like that, right? But don't ever just open a box and assume that the software that's on that device is, always the latest and greatest. The good part is upgrading a Radwin device is easy. You can do it, in a couple of minutes. Click, click, click. You can do a bunch of them at the same time. A whole sector at the same time. You can do it through the Wi-Fi appliance, your phone, your tablet, your laptop. You can upgrade over the air or subscriber unit. It's very, very simple. There's multiple different methods, and they're all, very, very straightforward. MAC address, serial number. Why the serial number is important for many reasons, but in this case, it is the suffix of your SSID for the Wi-Fi of your subscriber unit. And I'll talk about that here in a second. Power consumption, nomadic, we can talk about someplace else. All the security capabilities here, SNMP, link password, user password, security mode, secured sync, which is great if you have an adjacent network of Radwin that's not yours, right? Where you're not going to show up on their base station. I can certainly take a subscriber unit out of a box and cause it to show up on any base station, right? It's not going to pass data. It's never going to be registered, but this stops that from happening. So if you don't want to see ghosts pop up, from people that are using Radwin in the same geographic area, that's a great feature. 802.1x NTP server information here. Highly recommend having an NTP server, whether it's yours or you go grab one off of Google, the NIST website, what have you. Definitely want to have that. Ethernet, always want to see 1 gig full duplex. We are a gigabit product, so gigabit full duplex. If it's not, you want to find out why and make it so. Bridge table, let me see what's connected to these units out there. What MAC address? This is my subscriber unit MAC address. Again, flooding and broadcast protection, DHCP option 82, a whole host of protocol filtering. Yeah, we don't do that on this product, but IGMP snooping, we do that on this product. And then we've got our MAC aging. If I go into my subscriber unit, I just happen to be logged into that subscriber unit. This is at 220, the only active unit I have. It's going to show me, very big ways, everything about what's happening with my subscriber unit. If I go to configure and down to Wi-Fi, which is the only tab that's really a lot different, it's not on the base station, but remember I was talking about my SSID, right? That P150, but definitely the P part. The 150 will eventually change, but for now, P150, R dash serial number, basically. How do I know that serial number? Well, we just looked at it on the inventory page, but it's always on the back of the radio as well on the weatherproof label. That's what you're going to get is our serial number, okay? This unit can be turned on or off. I can go into my base station. This is my subscriber unit here. Turn that on. Go into my Wi-Fi. You see that it's off here as well. Notice that there's a couple of differences between the two of these. If I need to get that Wi-Fi to come back on, I can turn it on. Hit save. Okay. Or I could have left it on auto, which is cool as well. Auto is a great feature because after the subscriber unit has been registered, after 3 hours in auto, it shuts off, right? This is management Wi-Fi. This is not surfing Wi-Fi. Your homeowner is not going to be able to stand outside and surf. You still need a Wi-Fi appliance, right? This is for management only. So we can shut that off, but you're not going to turn it back on for your technician. So your technician shows up and says, oh man, it is 115 degrees out, or it's minus 15. I don't feel like getting out of my truck. With that Wi-Fi, you can connect to that subscriber unit from the comfy confines of this pickup truck, and she can make those changes to the base station, to the subscriber unit, excuse me, from there. Reboot, upgrade, change channels, change bands, whatever you need to do, you can do that. Run speed tests, run ping tests, all of that can be done across this interface. All right, I'm over my time by 5 minutes, so I think I am going to stop there. Let's take a look and see about some questions. If I don't cover your questions, folks, I will follow up in person via email. AES 128, this is the over-the-air encryption. This is not, and is not upgradable to 256. CBW is channel bandwidth, absolutely. We will provide these slides to the good folks at Wincom, and they can distribute this out to all of you. Channel separation. Don't necessarily need any separation, okay? And we're not going to let you overlap. If you looked in the base station, if I looked in this base station here, bear with me. If I look at the base station and my interface, you can see a bunch of red there, right? Pink, whatever color you want to call that. That's basically unit channels that are barred out. So carrier 1 versus carrier 2. As you can see, they flip, right? I can select any of these 4 channels for carrier 2 without overlapping and impacting what I got going on carrier 1, which is basically the top of the frequency band and the bottom of the frequency band. So I basically have 4 channels that I can select, to be non-overlapping. All right, let's see here. Any others? Transition time between C1 and C2. This is carrier 1 and carrier 2. It's fast. I haven't physically tested it on how fast, but it's pretty seamless. You're probably going to drop a packet, but that certainly beats a minute minimum downtime, right? Safe distance in relation to radar. That's an interesting question. I think they talk about 35 kilometers or something, or 50 kilometers in general. It's each location is going to be a little bit different depending on, what's out there, right? In the United States, most of the Doppler weather radar stations are known, and especially the important ones that involve air traffic. But you're going to see radar from other devices as well, right? Depending. Data over PoE or SFP. Can you do both or fail over if the fiber quits? Well, you're always going to have a working PoE, Cat5e, providing power, right? And then you have a choice. Do I want to send my data, over that copper, or I want to send that data over the optical, right? I mean, obviously the optical provides you with, the opportunity to provide, electrical protection to your switch. So you power your radio with a PoE brick, but bring your data down to your ISP switch, the one that costs a few more dollars, but you bring that optical, right, to keep you from any potential lightning damage, electrical surges, what have you. So, all right. Elaine, I believe that's all of the questions that are covered. If there's any others, don't hesitate to reach out to Wincom or Radwin. We're always here to help.